What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. It's Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth for day 7 of Patriots training camp. Another extremely hot one down there in Foxborough today. Wasn't full pads, but we had, shoulder pads and shorts.
Yep.
So, Barth, I think we said that would go into the books as a padded practice. Is that what we settled at?
So
right?
I think so. Zoe seemed to believe maybe not. We talked about he kind of expects the in-stadium practice to maybe be a little more intense than usual.
Okay.
So we'll have to get some clarity on that tomorrow.
All right, but it wasn't just like the upper pad, like it was true shoulder pads up top. So we still got some physicality, some one-on-ones, kind of moved out of the red area and more in the middle of the field. So we got some of those true drop back pass sets, which we will certainly talk about that we wanted to get to. And there's a lot on the offensive line that we will get to. But I wanted to start kind of a continuation from yesterday's conversation on Drake Maye, Barth, because he's had a lot of good moments this summer. He hasn't turned the football over, didn't do it again today, but we've been waiting for kind of that full day from Drake Maye, right? Like we were saying yesterday, it's been a lot of, okay, he started a little slow and he bounced back, which you like the bounce back, but can we just get that full Drake Maye day? And there weren't that many highlights. Like he had a really nice ball to Kyle Williams for a touchdown, second time in as many days they've connected, a couple nice other throws, but I thought this was maybe his most consistent in best day, dealing with some pressure. And you kind of saw that full practice that we've been wanting to see from Drake Maye today.
Yeah. And what's great, we'll get to the offensive line, right? He did it while the line probably had its worst day, definitely its worst day of padded practices. So that kind of dichotomy of not only did we get this wire-to-wire day from Drake Maye that, like you're right, we talked about yesterday, we got it on a day where it probably wasn't conducive to him having a good all-around day. I think the most impressive thing for me, the best thing for me from this practice was how he looked like at continuing to work as a passer. And he talked about this earlier in camp, about how he wants to do more to remain a passer even when he's scrambling, right? And scramble to extend the play and throw and not scramble to run. And there were a couple plays today. Kyle Williams plays one of them where he could have scrambled. He could have, left the pocket and tucked it and run. And it probably wouldn't have been a bad decision. You wouldn't say he's making a mistake. But instead he was patient. He threw the ball down the field and ended up with more than he would have if he scrambled. So a really good indication in that regard that it's not just him saying, yeah, I want to throw more and scramble less. We're actually seeing him do it.
Yeah, I feel like he's working the pocket very well. And even going back to yesterday, he had one of the touchdowns to Stephon Diggs. I think the Patriots socials actually posted it yesterday, so you can go back and watch it. Like there's heavy pressure on the right side. And I originally put sack in my notes, but then you watch the video and it looked like he pretty much just shifted his body to the left, bought time, and it wouldn't have been a sack in real action, and then had a really nice pass to Stephon Diggs. So he is working the pocket really well. And as you said, that was one of his key points entering the year: remain a passer, even when you're scrambling out of the pocket, like the big play to Pop Douglas over the weekend. So he's doing that very well. So I thought just in competitive teamwork today, if you want the numbers, like 3 passes hit the ground, 1 was a pass breakup, and 1 was just kind of a screen that got blown up that he just threw at Hunter Henry's feet. So it was a really, consistent and efficient day for Drake Maye. And it wasn't all just checkdowns. He was pushing the ball downfield a little bit more. So I thought that was maybe Drake's most consistent practice and full practice of the summer there. But he was under pressure. Let's talk about the offensive line. Before we get into more of the performance of it, we were down Garrett Bradbury today. He got rolled up on at the end of yesterday's practice, so he wasn't out there. It was Jared Wilson at left guard with the first unit, so he's sticking at left guard. And Ben Brown now comes in and takes Garrett Bradbury's spot at center. Barth, so what did you make of that kind of rotation of keeping Jared Wilson at left guard and bumping Ben Brown up to that first string center spot without Garrett Bradbury?
Well, I think the other notable piece of information here is Ben Brown had been the second team center. That was Cole Strange, who had been the top guard. So they could have kicked Cole Strange into center. But maybe they don't believe in Cole Strange at center as much as they do Ben Brown. They believe in him more as a guard. Jared Wilson's going to start. everything we're seeing right now, like Jared Wilson has a starting job. It's probably at guard. We'll see what the injury is to Garrett Wilson. Maybe they give him a longer look to Garrett Bradbury. Maybe they give him a longer look, Wilson, if Bradbury's actually going to miss time. But he's earned it. The one knock on Wilson this summer has been a couple bad snaps. And when he's playing guard, you don't worry about that. It's a non-issue. So it certainly seems like he's worked his way to the starting lineup. Now that could mean two rookies next to each other on that left side, which is obviously something to monitor, but I feel like he's a starter. And then you kind of see this picture coming together where, okay, so if you're starting five, let's say Bradbury comes back and is healthy, right? Okay, so your starting five is Campbell, Wilson, Bradbury, Onwenu, and Moses. And then their top backups have been Cole Strange on the inside, Caden Wallace on the inside, and DeMontre Jacobs on the outside, right? Then is Ben Brown in the mix because there's no backup center there. That's 9. It leaves you without a left tackle because DeMontre Jacobs can't play both ways. So now does Cole Strange get cut because he's a one position backup at guard? You know, push comes to shove. Do they say we're fine with Cole Strange being our backup center? Does Ben Brown get cut because Strange has more flexibility? Or do they find somebody else who's a swing tackler? Maybe Vidarian Lowe comes back. He's your left tackle. Caden Wallace, although he's primarily a guard now, he can play right tackle in a pinch if you need him. And then it's DeMontre Jacobs as the on-man out. He gets moved for tackle. It gives him a little more flexibility. Maybe Marcus Bryant comes on here, something like that. But I think the line of demarcation, again, we'll have to figure out who the backup left tackle is because that's not included in this equation. But it feels like, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, the line of demarcation between who's really being considered and who isn't is clear. Like Lane Robinson has not been in the mix. Sidney So has not been in the mix. Yasir Durant had not been in the mix. He just got cut. I'm trying to think of who else there is. Like
Jack Conley we talked a lot about in the spring.
Doesn't seem to be much in the mix. Marcus Bryant's probably right on that line. He's probably as close to a bubble player as there is on the offensive line.
He could probably
depending on what happens at left tackle, but
yeah, he could probably depend on Vidarian Lowe's health because for most of the summer, it was Yasir Durant, kind of the backup left tackle. Now he gets hurt yesterday. He gets waived. We'll talk about some of those roster movements later. And now it's Marcus Bryant, like the top backup left tackle today. So if Lowe opens the season on PUP, maybe they keep Bryant as their top backup left tackle. But if Lowe comes back, maybe that muddies that picture there. But that's how Bryant's been kind of looking so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you. The one thing, just going back to that top unit, were you a little surprised that they kept Wilson at left guard? Because it would have seemed pretty easy to put Wilson in place of Bradbury at center and then Cole Strange or Caden Wallace at left guard. Now, is it the bad snaps that I would hope, 2 bad snaps are 2 bad snaps. You don't want that, but I would hope they don't just ditch the Jared Wilson center experiment this year for 2 bad snaps the first week of training camp, or maybe they know Garrett Bradbury is just, he's going to be out a week. It's not serious. They might know that and say, okay, we'll just keep Jared Wilson at left guard for continuity issues. So were you a little bit surprised that they didn't just bump him in, or do you think it could be one of those two things that are keeping him at left guard for now?
Take me back to the beginning of camp. I'm surprised. I really thought they wanted him at center. It was kind of a slow trend to this over the last few days that he was going to get more focus on the left side. I think some of it is, to your point, if Bradbury's not significantly hurt, wanting a veteran in that spot, I think that outweighs having the 2 rookies on the left side because they want a veteran in that communicator spot, especially with a young quarterback. And some of it might just be where they're at with Cole Strange. Like maybe they just see Cole Strange as more replaceable than Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to see Caden Wallace at left guard and Jared Wilson at center. I think that has some enticing potential. And, you get 2 young guys, but they are young guys. Neither of them have played much football. One's a rookie and Caden Wallace was hurt a lot last year. And then you have Will Campbell at left tackle. So that's a lot of inexperience on the whole left side of the offensive line. But today it was Jared Wilson at left guard. He looks like he is in there as a starting offensive lineman at this point of the summer, and then Ben Brown at center. But as for the performance of this unit, we mentioned a lot of pressure on Drake Maye during that 11-on-11 teamwork. A lot of eyes on Will Campbell, a lot of that pressure coming from Will Campbell's left side. Barth, what'd you see, after 2 competitive days, I think was the word we were using. Competitive, positive for Will Campbell. Kind of a step back today at left tackle for that number 4 overall pick.
Yeah, and look, just to contextualize it, so it was one period, really. It was that first 11-on-11 period. The one-on-ones were a draw. He had one win, one loss. Kayvon Chason got him a handful of times. It was 2 sacks. It was another pressure or 2, kind of repeatedly using that outside in move. Now, he settled in after that one period. There was more good than bad. But when you allow 2 sacks in 4 plays, plus a handful of pressures around it, it's like Drake Maye's first OTA practice, where he threw 4 picks, and ultimately he settled down after that. But when you throw 4 picks, even if it's just in the first 6 passes out of like 20,
it's noteworthy.
That's still right. That's going to be the lead story. So,
and what did sorry to cut you off, but what did Will Campbell say before the draft? Remember, we had that interview. If you let up
one sack a game, and you're working at Amazon.
You're working at Amazon. So what's 2 sacks and 4 plays going to get you?
Right. So look, I think we knew the outside in move was going to be an issue for him. That was kind of the biggest thing he struggled with in college. And then the traditional pass sets, like he's been good he's been great as a run blocker. On the play action passing, he's been solid. It's just those traditional drop back pass sets. So that's something they're going to have to work with him on. How they're going to counter that outside in move. Some of that is just working on the footwork and being able to recover when you cheat outside. Some of that I think is going to be looking at film. When are guys going to break that move out on you? What are their tendencies? How do they set that up? Knowing that. But this was his weakness, and Chason exploited him with it again and again. So you give a little bit of credit to Kayvon Chason too, who's been awesome. But yeah, that's where I look at it. It's nothing new. I don't think we learned anything about Will Campbell today. I don't think it's like, oh my God, I didn't expect it to be this bad. Like, those are moves we know he gets beat on. They happen to be stacked in a row, but it is somewhere he needs to improve. And I'll just add this, because I've seen this. I've had this tweeted at me a few times today. I guess Josh Simmons is having a good practice with the Chiefs. Again, the problem with Josh Simmons was not whether or not he could play. The problem with Josh Simmons is that he tore his knee apart in October, and it's an injury that generally has lasting repercussions. If you want to draft Aaron Dobson or Dominique Easley at tackle, fine by me. That's the risk you were taking. We know Josh Simmons can play. Does he have a long career in the NFL, or does his knee fall apart? That's the risk we were talking about. So one practice does not necessarily prove anything about Josh Simmons in the draft. It was always an injury red flag with him. That was always the issue.
Yeah. And same with Will Campbell. One bad practice today doesn't make him a bust moving forward here. But
a lot of people itching for that victory lap.
Exactly. But I do think it's kind of what you saw. You said we didn't learn much about Will Campbell. This was LSU Will Campbell kind of out there today. And as Mike pointed out, Braden Swinson as well worked them in one-on-ones on the inside move. Now that's someone who knows Will Campbell very well from their time at LSU, and all those losses were to that inside move. And that's what you worry about at times, because he can overset and overcompensate for that lack of length. That's where that kind of pops up into play. So if teams know that, they're going to kind of attack that inside shoulder. And I think you saw at times today, Hunter Henry stayed into chip. Pop Douglas had a really good chip. He put one guy on his butt. So maybe this is them working through, like, okay, what does Will Campbell do well in pads, in these true pass sets? How can we help him? And you're kind of figuring that out about your young, 21-year-old rookie here in the early stages of training camp. So not his best performance, but we'll continue to monitor Will Campbell, of course, moving forward. And we talked about the depth, but they don't have much at tackle behind them either. If they have to pull the plug at some point in the season or move them inside, like that tackle depth is scary, because it's again, it was Marcus Bryant today. Demontre Jacobs was playing the right side, which hasn't been great. We know Vidarian Lowe, if he ever comes back off pup, like there's a lot of eggs in the Will Campbell basket. So that they better get that figured out.
So Felger, if you want to check out my hit with Felger and Maz, it's on the Sports Hub YouTube page. Felger asked me, like, what do you think the chances are, if he continues to struggle, that they'd kick Will Campbell inside, before the start of the season? and I say, or early in the season, and I said, like, I don't think it's going to happen. One, because they're going to give him a real chance, but two, I mean, if you're going to do that, because he said, you know, you don't want to, what if he's not ready and you let him, you know, kind of wet his feet at left guard, and then, you know, in time you move him outside because you don't want to ruin his confidence, to which I'd say, and I said to him, well, really it's about Drake May's confidence. Like, the reason we were all gung-ho about Will Campbell is not because we think Will Campbell is going to be the greatest tackle of all time. We were actually pretty couched on our takes on him. We thought he was a starting caliber left tackle, and they needed one to keep the quarterback upright. That was the most important thing. It was protecting the quarterback. So if you're going to move on from Will Campbell, it has to be because somebody's going to do a better job playing left tackle than he is. And even if he struggles, even with what he did today, I still don't feel better about Vidarian Lowe. I still wouldn't feel better about Marcus Bryant. I still wouldn't feel better. Who else? That's it. They cut Yasir Durant. There's no other left tackles to talk about.
You're playing,
right? Am I missing
Cade
somebody?
Wallace,
Jack Connolly, I guess, right? Cade Wallace, we saw it left tackle last year. That didn't work. So, no, and this is why we're going to make kind of a big deal. And look, this isn't me trying to defend Will Campbell. Like, he had a rougher day today. They can't afford that. He can't afford that because it's all on him. There's no plan B. I don't even know if Vidarian Lowe's plan B, depending on his injury.
Yeah.
At least to start the season, right? So, there's no lifeboats on the ship. It's Will Campbell or bust. Like, that's what it feels like at left tackle for them. Who knows who becomes available. Their backup left tackle may be on another team right now. Their week one backup left tackle may be a waiver guy. Well, that was right. That ended up being their starting right tackle. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah.
But there is no other option. They didn't, unless Mark, let me not get caught up in the moment. Maybe Marcus Bryant has something, because Marcus Bryant's played that position and we haven't really gotten any sort of extended look at him. You know, he's been fine against the third unit. That's the third unit. You need to see more before you make any exclamations about him. Maybe Marcus Bryant surprised us in the preseason. That's probably their best bet right now for an in-house backup left tackle, especially if Vidarian Lowe's hurt. Or they can call Coy Cronk. They can always call Coy Cronk. Is he on a roster?
Good pull, Diego, right there. Good pull with Coy Cronk.
Coy Cronk not on a roster.
How about that?
So there we go.
Does he have any familiarity with the staff?
Packers 2021. Oh, what year was Doug Marrone in Jacksonville? No, he wasn't there in 2021. He was gone before that.
Yeah.
21 to Vikings 2023. Is that? No.
Thomas Brown wasn't in Atlanta. No, I don't think
somebody
he
with the Vikings last year.
Mike Smith was on defense, right?
Yeah, and I think some of their defensive coaches were with the Packers in 21. So
that sounds right.
It's something.
Coy Cronk,
a connection.
The answer, but yeah, probably I would say for the rest of this week, unless the in-stadium is a little bit more physical than we are expecting. Not too much from the offensive line. Sounds like tomorrow will be a walkthrough, so probably not much. We won't get to see like kind of how the bounce back that we talk so much about from Will Campbell, but next week we have a joint practice. We have preseason games. I would expect those rookie linemen to suit up. So we'll see if we can get better results in those physical sessions as we go forward. But to wrap up the offense, Barth, anything from running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, any of those skill position guys today that caught your eye for good or bad?
Travion Henderson had another one of those plays that we talked about yesterday where it looks like there's nothing in the backfield and then he just turns on the jets and goes. Yep. He had another one of those. Kyle Williams bounced back. Good deep ball. Needed that. He'd had a quiet few days. Stephon Diggs still looks real good.
Jalen
Polk's post-practice press conference was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you heard of that, Brian. He said he had a new approach, and then when he was asked about it, he said he didn't. And he kind of just downplayed anything changing from last year, which is an interesting strategy. That would probably be it.
Yeah, that was interesting. I won't get on him too much. Like, I don't know if he just wanted to keep stuff in-house. You never know with those things. But, yeah, he said nothing changed from his mindset or his game. So we'll see with Jalen Polk. with Kyle Williams, it's still, he had the very nice touchdown from Drake again, in the bucket, great pass from Drake, but it's still inconsistent, I would call it. Or like he has that, but then he has a pass his way that's broken up, and then he had a back shoulder. Doesn't look like they were on the same page, so two of Drake's three incompletions were to Kyle Williams. So a little inconsistent, I would still say, even though you're getting some big plays downfield, which is good to see. I thought, now he's not running with Drake, he's running with the twos, but might have been Efton Chisholm's best day of the summer. They started in a 2-on-2 in the low red area, and he was just uncoverable. Now I know the Patriots secondary is a little depleted right now, but they just could not cover Chisholm down there. They get in teamwork. He had a nice catch from Dobbs. He kind of settles in an open zone area, and then ended the day, last rep of competitive work, just dust Marcellus Dial. But as almost every pass to Efton Chisholm all of a sudden sails over his head, uncatchable. So he's still getting open. Just the production isn't translating so much to 11 on 11.
Are you worried at all about Josh Dobbs?
Yeah, I haven't been that impressed. I think entering the summer, I was a little worried about just the backup quarterback in general, especially with Maye's injury history. So, and I don't think Dobbs has done anything throughout the first week here to kind of calm those issues or make me not feel worried about that spot.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he hasn't been great. I think he had a solid day the other day, but for the most part, I've been a little underwhelmed from what I expected from Josh Dobbs.
Definitely. So we'll keep monitoring that. But all right, I think that's it for the offense there. So let's jump over to the defense and special teams to wrap this up. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. And do you know ball? Because football season is right around the corner, and we can start putting Drake Maye, Kyle Williams, Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs into our Prize Picks lineups. But for now, we're getting through the rest of the summer with baseball, and you can spice up the action on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Just pick more or less on player stats like hits, home runs, strikeouts, and more for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. And even take advantage of their weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Flex Friday and Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday projections can be discounted from 15 to 25%. I was rolling with Roman Anthony. Sox played a little bit earlier today. Surprise, surprise. 2 more hits, 3 more total bases. He is red hot. So I'm still rolling with that. More than half a hit in my lineup for the next Sox game. Or they don't play till after the trade deadline. So maybe we get a new arm, a new bat. Who knows? Maybe they do absolutely nothing and they tease us all again. But if they get a new player, you can throw him into your Prize Picks lineup as well to get in on the fun. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All over on Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. Over to the defensive side of the football. We'll start in the secondary. Work our way up. Still no Christian Gonzalez. Still no Carlton Davis today in the secondary. Mike Vrabel, no real update on Gonzo. Just said you wouldn't expect to see him this week, as we kind of expected. Davis still limited. He made a brief appearance on the exercise bike in the back. So whatever he's been dealing with, they're still just kind of easing him in some veteran maintenance days, which they've been doing more. Morgan Moses has had those, veteran days. Harold Landry had one today, so that's definitely a Vrabel thing with some of those veterans. But Barth, no Gonzo, no Davis again. What'd you see in the secondary today without those guys?
It's still that rotation of Alex Austin, DJ James, and Marcellus Dial. I don't know about you, Brian. I think DJ James has been more impressive than Marcellus Dial. Like, he might be that next guy up. And ultimately, is there a fourth boundary corner spot on this roster? We'll see. Maybe this leads to Marcellus Dial getting more reps inside, but you talk about making the most of an opportunity. It feels like DJ James is doing that.
Yeah, he did. He was on the bad end of the Kyle Williams touchdown today, but outside of that,
that was a pretty tight window to fit that ball into.
It was tight coverage, but
you're right.
But outside of that, like I thought he was definitely better. I had, Dial talking about that last play from Chisholm. That was against Dial, so he got beat a few times today too. I thought Austin was maybe the best of the three today. He had a pass breakup, so he still looks good. If you need to count on him, or just even playing that fourth cornerback role. So
I
still
think
that
he's
rotation
clearly above those other guys, above Dial and James. I would also, I feel like we've been doing this for 3 years now. We've had this take. I would like to see Isaiah Bolden. I'm not getting my hopes up at this point. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I feel like it's worth seeing what he can do, but apparently not.
He feels like he's really fallen out of the rotation, especially now with DJ James kind of making a push here. Really feels like Isaiah Bolden has fallen out of the rotation. But we've talked so much about those corners. I don't know, anything in the safety room just over the last few days or today that's maybe caught your eye? I know there's a lot of bodies back there. Duggar looks healthy, but just it's one of their more talented rooms, but I feel like we don't talk about it too much. But anything, I don't know, stand out in that safety room throughout this week for you?
Have you noticed there's been less of Marcus Epps than there was at the beginning of practice, like the beginning of camp? I don't know if that's the pads coming on, the guy coming off a torn ACL or what, but it felt like he was really like pressing towards having a role, and haven't seen as much from the last few days.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. Still a lot of Jalen Hawkins. They're getting Craig Woodson involved a little bit more on the back end. So maybe that's come at the expense of Marcus Epps. So we'll see how that shakes out. But that's secondary. Up front, we mentioned a lot of pressure. Kayvon Chason continues just to be a wrecking ball along the defensive line. And, got more snaps with Harold Landry out today, a little bit more snaps for Anthony Jennings, to even Truman Jones in there with the ones at times without Harold Landry. So you saw some of that edge rotation. And I've been still impressed with Kairos Tonga. And as a pass rusher, too, like 2 more wins in one-on-ones. He had then a sack in 11-on-11s. And this is a guy who you project in there as your rotational nose tackle to just beef up against the run. And he's all of a sudden has some juice as a pass rusher. So I don't know if I would expect that moving forward all the time in the regular season, but it's been good to see at least through the early parts of these padded practices.
Look, given how they've looked against the run as a whole, and we talked about Milton Williams the other day, it's not just him, he's part of it. But given how they've looked against the run as a whole, maybe Tonga needs to play a bigger role than we thought. And if he needs to do that, if he's not a total liability in the pass rush, that's going to be important.
Definitely. So I think that was big stuff along the defensive line. Anything I'm missing? Or anything defense in general? Not too much going on that side of the ball today. All right, so we'll wrap up with special teams, then we'll hit on the roster moves. We have some Madden ratings, of course, to break down. But special teams, back to the alternating field goals. I don't know what the schedule is here, but back to alternating field goals and kind of shaping out best case scenario all of a sudden 4-4 for both guys. So good stuff from Borregales and Parker Romo today.
Yeah, I like the alternating ones better. It's more pressure. It's harder on the kickers, which I think is what you want. I still feel like Borregales has had the better, or Romo's had the better summer. I think if you put it all together with the spring performance as well, it's close. Ty probably goes to the draft pick, I would think, right? Which is Borregales. So we'll see. But I know some of us, and us included, we're talking about this thing maybe being over at the end of the spring. It doesn't feel like it's over.
No. Yeah, Parker Romo has been very good. Kicking the ball very consistently, right down the middle.
He's got some oomph behind that too.
Definitely. So he's not going down without a fight there. Borregales kind of has that baby draw. He likes to kick, the exact opposite of my golf drive. But they're going in. Like, he's been 10 of 10 since that Saturday practice where he went 2 of 4. So don't bash on the results if they're good. So we'll see what Friday night should be the big in stadium kicking, maybe some weather too. So we'll see what happens there. But that's day 7 practice. We'll wrap up here. We have some roster moves. We mentioned Yasir Durant went down with an injury yesterday. He was waived with an injury designation, and then wide receiver Demir Blankensee, running back Travion Williams were released, and they signed Alec Lindstrom at center, get some center depth in there with Garrett Bradbury out, and then 2 tight ends, which was interesting, and they worked out 2 additional ones. And then so they signed Tyler Davis and Cole Fotheringham.
I was just calling him Frothingham. I know that's incorrect, but it's a fun thing to say.
It flows much better. But do you think this is a sign of they're not comfortable with that tight end depth? That we've been waiting for someone to kind of come in and take that third tight end spot, and it's probably G. Scott as of now, if we're going to give it to anyone. But
Yeah.
you work out 4 tight ends and you sign 2 of them here. Like, doesn't seem great for those depth tight ends on the roster right now.
No, it does not. I think it would be different if they'd made these signings when Austin Hooper was still on PUP. The fact that he's off and they're still doing that makes it interesting. And then on top of that, neither of these guys are fullbacks. Like, my first thought when I saw they signed a couple tight ends, was like, all right, are these guys like really fullbacks or labeled as tight ends? They're not. So yeah, I think this is message sent to those other guys on the roster, especially, CJ Dupree, who's supposed to be the blocking tight end.
Yeah, because these guys are bigger guys. Like Davis is 6'5", 252, and Fotheringham or Frothingham, whatever we're calling him.
We should probably say it right.
Fotheringham.
It's just a fun name to say. Like, you remember Gerald Sensabaugh? That was one of my favorite names to say in the NFL.
That was a good name. So 6'4", 245. So and he spent a couple of years in Vegas. So he might have overlapped with Josh there. Spent the first 2 seasons, 22, 23 on the Raiders practice squad, released at the end of 24 training camp. Yeah, so he spent some time with Josh. So some familiarity there, and bigger bodies. So maybe CJ Dupree, they're not liking what they're getting out of him. So a couple roster moves there as they continue to go through camp. But last thing on our radar here, Madden ratings. We got them for rookies. Will Campbell leading the way, 79, tied for the 5th best rookie in the game. Trayvon Henderson, 76, tied 19th. Then Borgalis, Kyle Williams, Braden Swinson, Craig Woodson round out the top of the group. Any big takeaways from your Madden ratings there?
Jared Wilson's is going to go up. I mean, he's going to be a starting left guard, so probably should be at least a 70. Trayvon Henderson's speed's only an 81. Or 91, sorry, but that still feels low.
Yeah.
And Evan Chisholm's speed's an 84. So not big on the speed of the rookies, but, you get 6 guys in the 70s. That's pretty high. Look, I just find it interesting. I know some people roll their eyes at this. I think it's another one of those things like the NFL Top 100 list, like the ESPN when they poll the executives and stuff like that. You get so insulated in the bubble of following your team. It's a good way to see how the Patriots players are viewed on a national, on a league-wide perspective. So Will Campbell tied for the 5th best rookie. Trayvon Henderson's up there, 3rd best running back, jumped a guy or 2 that he was drafted ahead of. Braden Swinson getting some serious love, Joshua Farmer getting some serious love. I just think it's an interesting way to see that. The fun part about the ratings is comparing them. And when you only get the rookies, because they just put the rookies out today, you don't get a ton. Tomorrow will be they're doing it differently this year. It used to be by position. This year it was 99 club. And then there's a day off there. Today was rookies. Tomorrow will be offense. Friday will be defense. So we'll have a chance probably when we come back on the show on Monday or Tuesday next week. We'll look at everything. It's an interesting way to be like, all right, how are these players viewed league wide?
Want to know what the best thing on this list is?
What?
Lawn snapper, Julian Ashby, 65.
That's right. Finally,
we got some lawn snapper representation.
Real long snapper ratings.
He's not a 38 overall tight end, Julian Ashby, on this list. We have a lawn snapper. There we go. So Julian Ashby, 65. I wonder, what do you think the top, are they going to give out 90s for a lawn snapper? Do you think, the best lawn snapper?
I don't know. Usually the kickers peak at high 80s.
Yeah.
So
that'll be
probably somebody in the 80s. There'll be a couple guys in the 80s, I would think.
So Julian Ashby, 65. So those are Madden ratings. Fun to look at. We'll continue to monitor them.
Yeah.
The rest of the ones that come out. But all right, put the bow on day 7. Plugger of the day, Barth. Who you got?
I got to make sure I wrote in ours yesterday. It was Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, right? Yesterday?
Yes.
All right. Well, it's not going to be Will Campbell today. I'm going to go Drake Maye. Good wire-to-wire day. He needed it. He had it, even with the pressure. I'm going to go Drake Maye. Are we going to get our first double here? Are we going to get the first one where we're both on the same guy?
I was debating it, but that 4-play sequence from Caleb Von Chase on took my opinion over because and so back to Kayvon Chason for my plugger of the day. Increased reps, with Harold Landry out and just dominating. He got the 2 on Will Campbell, got in the backfield again on a stunt. They were starting to run some stunts on the defensive line, and he worked his way into the backfield. So at least 3 pressures, maybe 3 would-be sacks from Kayvon Chason, and he's continuing to stack days and be one of the most impressive players on the field, I would say, in these padded practices, or maybe this whole summer. So Kayvon Chason, what is that, 2nd in 3 days maybe for him?
So he's now our leader in the clubhouse. He has 3. Pop Douglas has 2. Drake Maye has 2. Kyle Williams, Harold Landry, Bryce Beringer, Mike Vrabel, Brian Spohn, Robert Spillane, Javon Baker, Will Campbell, and Jared Wilson each have 1.
There we go. All right, so we got a new leader in the clubhouse.
Wait, did we not give? I thought I gave Will Campbell one the first day of pads. So I have Will Campbell here twice. Oh no, the first day of pads was Monday. And
wait,
then
did
yesterday,
did you not give Will Campbell yesterday then?
I didn't yesterday. I thought Will Campbell had 2.
I don't
Did
think
I add
so.
Yesterday's? Hang on, let me see. I wrote them down.
We're gonna have to go back and listen.
We might have to go back and find them. Hang on. I can find this. Why isn't this? I put it in my phone.
I was trying to think who, because you probably did Will Campbell for the first day of pads, and then yesterday you might have done.
Because we did. I got to figure out when these days are. Hang on. So. Oh, yesterday was Chason and Jared Wilson. So Will Campbell would have been the first day of pads. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
So that's one from the first day of pads. Because I missed the second to last name on this list, even though it's 2 days ago. Because yesterday was Jared Wilson and Chason was already there. And then today was 2 repeats with Chason and Maye. So we're good. We got it caught up.
Crisis averted, but Kayvon Chason still in the lead, 3-time plugger
in the
today.
lead. It's him, Drake Maye, and Pop Douglas in the lead.
All right. I'd say that's as long as Drake's up there. Right? I think we said that on the first show. As long as Drake is in consideration, that's what you're looking for in that plugger of the day conversation. So good that he's up there. And then Chason and Pop leading the way as well. So that'll do it. Day 7. We'll be back for day 8 tomorrow. It is going to be a walkthrough, it sounds like. So hopefully we'll have some things to kind of break down and discuss.
Maybe we'll do our own little recap of the week before we do the recap on Friday.
Exactly. So we'll have some good things to talk about, of course. So make sure you're locked on to Patriots Press Pass, like and subscribe. You can also subscribe wherever else you get your podcasts. If you're going audio only, Spotify, Apple Music. And if you are on Patriots Press Pass on YouTube, please turn on those notifications so you know exactly when we go live. We're planning on doing something live, after the in-stadium on Friday night. So that could pop up pretty quickly at any moment after that practice ends and after we talk to players and they're going to sign a bunch of autographs. So turn on those notifications and you'll know exactly when we are going to go live there as well. And again, subscribe to Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. You can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his written Patriots coverage. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for our Patriots training camp coverage there as well. And thanks again, everyone, for jumping on with us tonight, and we will see you back tomorrow.